The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Melt Show.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
This is the Full Melt.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Oh, man, the whole show's screwed up now. I hate it if I get on the air late. You know, one thing with internet broadcasting that I never had to deal with so much in the world of real broadcasting on, terrestrial broadcast stations with towers and transmitters and big buildings full of equipment and humming and buzzing and electricity everywhere was rebooting the stupid computer. The big radio stations, they got backup power and generation, and they got, backup computers for this and that. If this thing goes down, you got this one over here. We just got the one. And a minute ago, I went to go fire up the show. There was no audio. The audio was not going to work. So I had to reboot everything. Everything? There's like 4 computers that run this show. Now let me get back on track. Where were we at? So, on today's program, shall I tell you what's on today's program? Because that might be a good start. Montana has new problems with medical marijuana because of a Supreme Court decision there. And the Utah House has put the kibosh on MMJ in the Magic Underwear State. Also today on the program, activist, Moms United co-founder, and all-around great person, Charmie Gholson, will be on the program to talk about Michigan and the state of affairs here and what people are doing about it, because they're fed up. And so we'll talk to her a little bit later in the program. I was planning on coming to David Rudoi during the first commercial break, but since we got on the air a little bit late, because I told him I'd call him at 7:15, and since we got on the air a little bit, like 8 minutes late, it took me 8 minutes to get everything rebooted. We'll get Charmie on sometime, I guess, maybe around 7:30. 40, probably about 7:40 or so before we get to Charmie. Since it's going to be 8:08 or something after we get off the air. Good Lord. So what I guess I'll have to do is try and call David during the show. I guess might as well just do it right now. I mean, it's only 7:11. I'd be calling him like 4 minutes early. There's a lot of stuff happening in the state of Michigan. And let me just dial up David here while I'm talking to you. First, we passed, if you want to know the history, if you're not familiar with Michigan's history, they passed the Medical Marijuana Act back in 2008 in Michigan after Detroit. And there may have been a couple other cities that did something. I know Detroit kind of led the way. And they did something citywide in Detroit, decriminalizing marijuana and passing their own medical marijuana framework, or at least some kind of ordinance allowing for medical marijuana. I don't think it's a dusty law now because it predates the 2008 effort to legalize marijuana for medical purposes in the state of Michigan, which was successful. And then you've got this situation where on the same election cycle that the state of Michigan hired in the Medical Marijuana Act to put it full in force, hired it in, that's just not the way to put it. They enacted this legislation as a citizens initiative, gathered all the signatures, got it on the ballot, and people voted it in overwhelmingly. But at the same election cycle, we did hire Bill Schuette, medical marijuana's chief opponent financier, and all-around anti-marijuana spokesperson, as our attorney general in this state. So the very guy that's supposed to back the law that the people just enacted instead starts to stab it with his steely knives. and make Swiss cheese of it. And him and his crony friends in the courts, because remember, the whole thing that this the thing that this show circles around, the center, the sun of this program is the idea that marijuana prohibition is and always has been a farce. And that's when you're talking about substance use or substance abuse, if it gets to that this is not a criminal justice issue and never should have been, and always has been a public health issue and should be dealt with as such. Because police have no business in that arena, in the public health arena. Police are there to make sure people are safe. Public health is an entirely different subject. And while people want to consider themselves to having safe conduct as it results to their health, the overall subject is much more broad and really outside of the training, scope, and purview of law enforcement officials. Now, we've pushed this legislation through at much to the chagrin of legislators and law enforcement and court personnel, because see, they're all part of the machinery that profits off the prohibition. Remember, the state relies on this prohibition for taxation because it doesn't get its courts paid for, it doesn't get its parole officers paid for, it doesn't get any of that stuff done if you just count the people who did violent crimes. It needs these guys to prop up the system by milling taxes in the form of fees and other court charges related to the adjudication of criminal justice matters before the court. And all too often, those matters tend to be substance related. And so if you remove that piece of the pie from the court system and law enforcement, because they work together, they're synergistic, even though they're two different parts of our three-part government. Because remember, our government's split into three parts for power distribution, so that power is not centrally focused in one man's hands or one department's hands. You've got the executive branch, including the president. You've got, and law enforcement is part of the executive branch. You've got the judicial branch. They interpret the law. And then you got the legislative branch. They make the law. So even though they're two different parts of government, this part that prosecutes and this part that enforces the law, in order to get the conviction done, they have to work together and are basically on the same side. So when it comes to issues of substance before the court, really you've got a citizen, a civilian, with allegations made against them on substance, the deck's completely stacked against them, which it was intended to be, I believe. And then you're fighting two of the three branches of government. The executive branch through law enforcement, and then the judicial branch through prosecution. And this is the battle that's been waged. Now, that being said, there's the stage. Over the, since 2008 and the Swiss cheesing of the act and belittling, making it much smaller in umbrella for protection. Because remember, that's all you get under the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act is an enjoyment against the arrest and prosecution of medical marijuana, quote unquote, crimes, and or the affirmative defense to say, look, I'm guilty of what you're saying, but I have a reason. I have an allowance for this. And so you should dismiss this case. Hardly ever has either one had an opportunity to shield, for the most part, patients, because the shield always seems to be smaller than the liability. And as a result, people are angry that our attorney general and prosecutors and judges across this state have decided to use the Medical Marijuana Act for the patients. Remember, this is only for patients that need medical marijuana for their chronic condition, their chronic qualified condition. And it's expensive. It costs money to participate in this system that the state makes money from and is spent on law enforcement, by the way. they've decided to use this shield, this sword, this law as a shield. Instead of a shield, they're using it as a sword. Instead of protecting patients and their caregivers, the people who are responsible, who have been assigned to grow their medicine because the ill patient could not, or their situation didn't allow for it, that these people have an ability to be protected by the law, but it's been minimalized so small that they almost always find a way to find you outside the protection of that umbrella, and you get rained on. And when you do, you get fed to that criminal justice system, and you get labeled a felon, and then try and get a job after that. But remember, you're just a sick person in the first place. And people got so sick of law enforcement coming in and breaking down doors and making a big deal out of nothing, where even in places where they've carved out an allowance for this, despite the state ruling that says, the state Supreme Court ruling that says dispensary is illegal, cities everywhere have said, you know what, we don't care what the state ruling is on this. We've got local control. We're going to create an ordinance that says we're going to allow for dispensaries, and people raid them anyways. Either the county or the state, but generally it's a multi-jurisdictional task force. And so people like David Rudoi have been fighting about this, fighting hard. And people like Charmie Gholson, who's going to be on the program a little bit later on, have been leading the way and charging with a fight that is backed with merit, that's backed with facts and figures, truth and honesty, and cuts away at the fiction that's been perpetrated by those who would like to say somehow that marijuana is dangerous to kids or children or women or churches or schools or any of the like, because it's all nonsense. You can make the same claim about a lot of other drugs. Nobody complains about the CVS that's right across from the school, or the Rite Aid that's right around, that's within spitting distance from the playground. Nobody cares about those guys, or the alcohol places. You can buy alcohol in both of those establishments and at a liquor store to boot that's between them. Nobody cares about the kids walking past those liquor stores. You know why? Because they can't go into that liquor store and buy liquor, and they're not interested anyway. They're on their way home from school, for crying out loud. And there's nobody hanging outside the liquor store going, hey, kid, why don't you try a nip of this? It's not happening. There are people behind the counter that card those children. No, you can't buy this for your dad. Your dad's going to have to come in here. But dad's sick, and he can't come in. No, dad's going to have to find an adult, or he's going to have to come down here himself. Same thing goes with cannabis. The fight's going on in Detroit. There's a big fight happening in Gaylord and a rally ready to happen in Lansing. Attorney David Rudoi comes on with Law Spectaculars next.
You're getting the full melt.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoi has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoi Law
at RudoiLaw.com.
RudoiLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoiLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
RootMetrics, in the nation's largest independent study, tested wireless performance across the country. Verizon won big with 153 state wins. AT&T got 38, Sprint got 2, and T-Mobile got 0. Verizon also won first in the U.S. for data, call speed, and reliability. AT&T got text. Stuck on an average network? Join Verizon, and we'll cover your cost to switch.
It's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release.
We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade, you got this.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Reiki,
Sacred Elements.
raindrop, aroma and color therapy, body detox, ministry, life coaching, weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred Elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Dordt Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570. It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Radio show.
Normally you can hear us Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Remember, we're going back from Daylight Savings Time to Daylight Standard Time this Sunday, so make sure you turn your clocks back. We've been talking about Michigan and medical marijuana and cannabis in general and the fight. I've given you the history about what's going on in Michigan here tonight. And then I told you that after the break we'd have on attorney David Rudoi, and that's who we have on the phone. Welcome to the program, David.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Say, you've been pulling some magic there. Can you explain to people, because I don't know if anybody knows what entrapment by estoppel means. Can you tell us what that means, David?
Sure. So entrapment by estoppel is essentially a defense that a government official told you something that was illegal is legal. So, like, if a police officer told you that in this city, you don't have to stop at red lights, for example, and then they try to give you a ticket for not stopping at a red light, then you could say, I was entrapped by the police because the police told me that this was legal. So that's essentially the defense, is that you were told something that is in fact illegal, but you were told it was legal by somebody that you would trust to know that information, a government official. And then, there's some other elements to it, but that's the essential idea.
So, honestly, this is something that happens more often than I guess people would stop to think about, isn't it?
Well, especially here in Michigan, where there's been a whole lot of confusion regarding the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. And a city attorney and one group of, one police department reads the law one way, Bill Schuette reads the law a different way, the judges read the law a third way.
Right.
Nobody really knows,
Right.
And some police have been advising people, you're okay if you do blank, blank, and blank, and then the courts end up saying you're wrong. So it's actually something that's been happening quite a bit in Michigan.
Well, that's what I meant by this. Bear with me a second here. Hold on. Hey, Bobby. Hey, I'm Bobby. We're on the radio. Remember 7 to 8. I got to call you back.
It's only 6:30 here, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's 7:30 here. Bobby's working on the mobile app. Stand by a second, Bobby. I got to call you back. Sorry about that, David. I think our mobile app guy was calling in to give me an update on mobile app. So, are you still there, David?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, sorry about that. So, listen, I think a lot of times when this entrapment by estoppel happens, I've heard a lot of cases where somebody who was just a caregiver or sometimes a dispensary owner would say, look, the police came in here and said, we're obeying the law. They've given us a license from the city that says this is okay to do this. And now they come banging down the door saying, oh, you're all criminals.
I mean, that's exactly what's going on all over Michigan in different communities, because there's so much of this law is being misinterpreted by the courts. And I think the police that are advising these people are advising them correctly in the first place. But either way, if a cop tells you something's legal, you have a defense to the crime.
Right.
If you're following a cop's orders on what to do, of course you should be able to rely on what a police officer tells you is the law.
Well, he's an officer of the court.
Yeah, and he's an officer of the state of Michigan, representing both the laws of the state of Michigan and the laws of the city that you're in.
Right. Well, at least he should be well versed in them, and probably is also not advised to give legal advice.
Well, they end up doing it anyways, though. So
right. Well, you've been able to put this to practical application here in the state in a couple of instances, yes?
That's correct. I've had a couple good rulings by some tough judges, actually, on the issue. The real kicker is when we have an actual police officer that did the advising. When it's just the city that did the advising, I think that's something that needs to go to the Court of Appeals, because I think it's still entrapment.
I think it is, too, because how can you give somebody a license to do something and then bust down the doors and saying, you put your hands up and, hands behind your back. You're all criminals.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, the police officer is like the classic entrapment by estoppel, because he represents the laws of the state of Michigan, where a city official might not. But
right.
it's still, I think it would be reasonable to rely on a city official like the city attorney for a city to tell you if they give you a license, you should be able to assume that your conduct is in fact legal.
Well, because one would assume, and generally, city attorneys have some input and say into ordinances, don't they?
Well, definitely, and that's the whole issue. Is if a city's passing an ordinance, you can assume that it's going to be more restrictive than state law, not less, generally. But lately, there's been a lot of confusion with that, as decriminalization has come out over and over again. But it's still illegal under state law, which is very confusing for a lot of people because they think I'm safe. Like in the city of Detroit, for example, people think they're safe, but the officer can still write them a ticket under state law.
Right.
They're actually not protected.
Oh, it's very confusing, isn't it, David? That's why we need people like you to help us figure out what's going on and to help defend us when we get stuck up in court over something like this, especially.
Yeah, I mean, it's really horrible what's going on with this act where people, there's hundreds of, really thousands of people across the state of Michigan are trying to obey the law. And because one agency interprets the law differently, they're turning these people into criminals. And if the people don't have proper legal support, they're really getting screwed. There's people getting screwed all over the place.
Well, even sometimes when they do get proper legal support, they're getting screwed. In many cases, there's, the whole idea that they
that's actually very right. I mean, even with the best legal support in the world, judges are still screwing people. So
well, and especially the idea that it costs money to defend your freedom, to defend yourself. At the very least, even if you end up winning on all counts and get everything dismissed, you've been ground through the system and devoided of your bank account.
Yeah, and put on bond, put on testing conditions, had your name in the paper, all sorts of negative consequences. So even when you win, you lose.
Right. And this is the idea that we've had since 2008 when we passed the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act. This has been going on, and it's been the grind. No matter what kind of wins we've had in court, no matter what kind of legislation we tried to appeal to get legislators to say, look, let's do some things to modify this and make it better, make it more clear. But instead of doing that, there have been the brakes been put on by the legislature, or carrot and stick promises that never come to fruition, like what's going on, I think, right now in the state legislature. But we've got an answer to this, don't we, David, through MI Legalize. Can you tell us about that and maybe give us an update about what you know since you're a board member with that organization?
Well, I mean, MI Legalize is on the path. We've got over the amount of signatures needed, but we need to get some more just to make sure, because we have to deal with some that won't be valid. We were working on the State Board of Canvassers to make it easier to legitimize the ones that are older than 180 days, because we can already do that.
Right.
It's just an expensive process.
Right.
We were trying to make it less expensive. Well, meanwhile, the Senate just passed a bill trying to put into immediate effect that anything outside of 180 days automatically doesn't count. You can't rebut the presumption and bring them back. It's anti-democratic. It's not even constitutional because it would be a retroactive law. And we're probably going to be battling it out in court if they do, in fact, pass this through the House. It's just the Senate that's passed it now. And to be clear, they're trying to make it seem like it has something to do with MI Legalize. It's, in my opinion, it's about the anti-fracking petition because those fracking companies are, lining these legislatures' pockets.
Well, look, I can tell you, when I did the Bernie thing, when I was out in East Lansing volunteering for the Bernie campaign, which I'm so glad that he won by at least 2 points here. That breathed some life back into the campaign, I think, on a national level.
Oh, yeah.
But when I was out there were just as many people out there, if not more, collecting signatures to ban fracking as there were collecting signatures for MI Legalize. But in either event, go ahead.
What I was going to say is, I'm obviously I'm on the board of MI Legalize, but this anti-fracking bill is equally important, if not more important, because although marijuana is very near and dear to my heart, we're not going to have an earth to live on if we keep letting them do this stuff. I mean, you see this leak in California, and it's scary. It's scary what's happening.
It is very scary, and the idea that we might be giving by just default. Permission to these fracking companies to come in and spoil our water table and turn us into Flint all over the state.
That's right.
Who's growing cannabis then?
And it's our Michigan Senate that just passed a bill trying to keep fracking around. So, I mean, everybody that lives in Michigan that is listening to this show needs to call their House representative and tell them to oppose this 180-day this bill about voter initiatives, because they are trying to cut out the democratic process and keep the people from being able to choose issues for the ballot. They don't want you to have your voice heard and you to have the ability to vote on this issue, because they know that people will vote against fracking and people will vote for marijuana legalization, and they don't want the people to speak on these issues. They think you're too stupid to be able to vote on it. And I encourage everybody to get and call their House representative, because the bill's going to the House next, and we got to stop it.
They're going to try and fast track this through and get it right to the governor for his signature, aren't they?
Oh, you know it. You know it. And that's why we have to start calling in now. We want to flood their phones on this issue.
Is this making their skirt show a little bit about whether, because it seemed like they might have been trying to wasn't there a little bit of fear going on there for a minute that they might be trying to pass legislation about medical marijuana or legalization in general?
Oh, yeah. It's a classic political move. We call it the minimum wage, where they undercut our bill by passing a version of their own.
That's much softer.
But I think they're trying this first, and they'll try that next, and just don't be fooled. You know, MI Legalize is I think, the best way to move forward on this marijuana reform. And they're going to try and impose their own shitty version, but first they're going to try and just cut us off at the knees anyway. So you guys, we got to get in touch with our House representatives and get this taken care of.
Do you know if we still have some fundraisers planned for MI Legalize?
Yes, we do. We have Flint coming up, I believe, March 28th. That's the next one that I know of. But they're going on all over the state all the time. And you can always go milegalize.com, hit the donate button, and it's very, very easy to get through the process if you're unable to make it to any of the events. If you can make it to the events, they're a blast. I'm at as many of them as I can be at, not just because I support MI Legalize, but it's a lot of good people and a lot of good times.
Well, and a lot of work, and there's a lot of steam and effort and money that's gone into this campaign. It's really, really important that we protect that baby as it's being passed from foster to caretaker, right?
Definitely. Hey, I apologize, Steve. I'm very happy to be on the show. I do have to go. I'm being called. I guess dinner's being served. I'm at a at an event honoring Mike Camorn for great work on indigent defense.
I just saw Michael last night. Tell him I said hello. Have fun at the fundraiser. Go do your thing, David. Thank you for being on the program tonight.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
All righty, bye-bye. So there you go, David Rudoi telling us about what's going on with MI Legalize, and then also this is the response in Michigan. This is where we're going with this. Is we're going to take this issue back, and there's going to be a lot of screaming and crying and hand wringing and face palming that's going to happen when it does. But I just will relish in every little drip of it. I'll relish in it, and so will many others, because this is the season. This is where this ends. The buck stops here. Hear us loud and clear, Michigan legislature. We're getting this done. You're not going to get us to cave. You're not going to scare us away. And you're going to stop arresting patients now. And that's all it comes down to. Thank God for that. I told you earlier on that we would talk. We're going to get Charmie Gholson on the phone here. I think Charmie's got a whole mouthful to say. I mean, Charmie's like one of these people. She's like me. You just put a little key in my back and wind me up and let me go. Except sometimes, and you get this with me too, sometimes when you let us go, especially if you put an extra little wind in the spring, boy, you'll get the spring chicken dance run going for a minute. And I think that's the place that Charmie's at now, is the spring chicken dance. I think she's ready to flap her arms and her jaws about what's going on here with the and her jaw, I said. Did I say jaws? I did say jaws. Into getting things changed. There is, I think Charmie's going to make an announcement of a protest. This is tied to the news came down yesterday. What was the news? Let me see if I can dig it up real quick, because we just got a minute here before the break. Sorry, Charmie, we're running late. Facebook, that's where I saw it yesterday. Oh, man. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to get there. I think I'm going to do this a different way. I think there's an easier way. This is Gaylord. I think it was Petoskey News. See, we just went up to Gaylord to back Al Witt. Al was an employee at a dispensary that was raided in a series of raids done by a narcotics enforcement unit, one of those multi-jurisdictional task forces that the government likes to rely on to be their extended arm of tax collection. That's what I like to call them, because clearly that's what they are. In Gaylord, Michigan, there are a number of medical marijuana dispensaries that are still open. So this is an old story. Hang on. Petoskey News. That's October. Where did this story go? A day ago. Here we go. They've been playing dirty up there. This is according to PetoskeyNews.com. Multiple law enforcement vehicles were seen at each medical marijuana dispensary in Gaylord Thursday night. That's last night, as officers executed search warrants at all 9 facilities. The 45-year-old Gaylord man and a 36-year-old Gaylord man were both arrested as a result of the raids, according to Straits Area Narcotics Enforcement, or SANE, press release, and more arrests are expected. It'll be up to the prosecutor, said Detective Lieutenant Ken Mills, SANE unit commander. With all the violations and illegal activity, there will be well over 10. The searches were completed at all dispensaries in Otsego County, including one in Vanderbilt, as caregivers at the different dispensaries were believed to be selling to people who were not on their registered patient list under the Michigan medical marijuana law, according to the report. The 45-year-old man was arrested on charges relating to the illegal distribution, possession, and manufacturing of marijuana and THC products, and possession of prescription drugs, the press release indicates. The 36-year-old was arrested on charges related to the illegal distribution and possession of marijuana and THC products, according to the release. Law enforcement officials at Trophy Buds said they were executing search warrants at the different dispensaries. At Trophy Buds, they were seen conducting a thorough search of the dispensary and collecting documents, marijuana, and other items. One person arrested there. The story goes on. But we want to see what Charmie's got to say, because they talk about Alan Witt in this story, and we'll get into the details on that coming up after the break. Got to get Charmie on the phone. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're getting the full melt.
I've seen things no man should bear, and those that every man should dare. From the beaches of Normandy to the far reaches of the earth. In my life, I have lived millions of lives. I've outrun robots and danced with dinosaurs. I've faced the faces of fear and fortitude and witnessed great beauty in the making. I've kept the company of kings and queens, but I'm no royalty or saint. I've traveled, trekked, wandered, and roamed, only to find myself right where I belong.
Jeep. See your authorized Jeep retailer for details on how you can become a Jeep owner.
We asked people to tell us something that happened in their past and something that might happen in their future. The good things were put on yellow magnets and the bad ones on blue. The results show the past was a pretty even mix of good and bad, yet the future was almost all good things. Now that you've seen the results of this experiment, what does it mean to you?
We all want to think about positive stuff.
Realistically, there will be downtimes.
It's great to think optimistically, but let's plan for whatever the future might bring.
Prudential, bring your challenges.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
All right, here we go.
I managed to, during the break, dig up the phone number for Charmie Gholson and bring her into this conversation. Charmie, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks a bunch.
Say, listen, I was telling people about this story in the Petoskey News at petoskeynews.com. And I just wanted to finish up the details on this. This is the second series of raids in less than a year, spearheaded by SANE, on Otsego County medical marijuana dispensaries. 8 dispensaries were searched on May 27th, and several items were confiscated, including marijuana, cash, vehicles, and other items. Let's face it, that's what they're after. Several individuals were arrested and charged as a result. A mounting resistance grew against these actions, leading to protests and a high amount of public interest in some of the current court cases where the defendants attempted to fight the charges. Alan Witt, an employee of Gaylord Provisions at the time of the raids, and now a co-owner of Cloud 45, was found guilty on January 27th of 1 count of delivery of marijuana, not guilty on 1 count of maintaining or keeping a drug house, and the jury was hung on 1 count of possession of marijuana with intent to deliver, sentencing now scheduled for April 4. The 2 arrested in the latest series of raids await arraignment, and as I said, the police in that article said there are going to be at least 10 defendants in the latest series of raids. And now comes Charmie Gholson. There's some response. We're sick and tired of this, aren't we, Charmie? Turning patients into criminals. Stop arresting patients. We've been saying this for years and years. It's falling on deaf ears, isn't it?
That's right, Steve. It really is. And, let's be honest. SANE not only executes these warrants in the manner that they do because they can keep all of the things that they take from people because it's incredibly lucrative, but also because they enjoy it. We've got about 10 drug task forces throughout the state, and SANE is one of the most violent drug task forces. I first started conducting raid response and interviewing people who had been raided by their local drug cops in 2009. And one of the very first people that I interviewed was a young mother she had 6 kids. She adopted impaired children. She was a caregiver and a patient. And SANE came in and raided this woman again and again. They pulled up the floorboards in her house, got her evicted from that house. They broke someone's nose in one of the raids, and then Jesse Williams, Traverse City Attorney Jesse Williams, got that warrant thrown out because they knew they were patients and caregivers.
Right.
What we are seeing across the state since the passage of our Medical Marijuana Act is a very well organized, very well funded strategy to undo all of the protections provided in the Act and to allow Michigan's drug cops to continue to, just have their little party, do their smash and grabs. They sexually harass people. They always, this is child endangerment if there are any children involved during a raid. I don't know who thinks that it's much better for children to come in with guns and masks and threaten to shoot your dog than to have marijuana in your house.
Right.
This is the logic of these people. But SANE has been consistently and historically one of the most aggressive, violent drug task forces in Michigan. And what's happened in Gaylord, to be honest, is no surprise, although it is abhorrent. It is absolutely unacceptable any longer, and it is the straw that's broken the camel's back because these raids have been executed consistently since we passed the law, Steve, consistently. And I believe we're seeing a beginning of sweeps statewide at this point.
I believe you're right, Charmie. I think you're right. I've been calling on this. There's going to be, I've always said, especially right when it gets towards the end, right when we get to start to change things around, it's obvious that prohibition will no longer stand, at least in its current form, that there will be a massive money grab made by those grubby fingers.
That's what we're seeing. That's absolutely what we're seeing. I spent time in Lansing Tuesday meeting with legislators and asking them to please reintroduce the SWAT reporting bill, which Representative McMillan introduced in 2013 and was laughed out of committee. You know, how dare we ask the police to answer 6 questions about the SWAT raids they're executing, you know. So I went back to Lansing. I started poking around that. There's great news. Representative Gary Glenn has a bill sitting in LSB in the Legislative Services Bureau that will require a conviction before final forfeiture proceedings, which, as you likely know, the Republicans put civil asset forfeiture on their 2015 platform and completely circumvented actual reform by passing 7 bills that do very, very little. As you can see, these cops are still kicking in doors and stealing whatever they want.
Brazen.
All they're supposed to be doing right now is reporting. That's it. They're supposed to be reporting, which means keep track of what you're doing and tell somebody. I can't swear. We're not on the internet, are we? We're on the air, right?
We are on the internet, so we're not on we're not on the regular broadcast
area. I'm not swearing right now. I'm really, really sorry.
It's hard to contain it sometimes because it's so just infuriating.
Well, here's the good news. You know, Southfield criminal defense attorney Michael Comorn has been on, just like as many of our criminal defense attorneys all across the state have been, just relentlessly galloping across the state trying to really attack these guys in the courtroom, because it's not just the raids, as you know. Once they get you in the courtroom, we've got such corruption with the prosecutors and the judges. They charge you with outrageous felonies and threaten to charge your wife. They're torturing people, Steve. So on March 22nd at noon, we are going to hold a press conference and we're going to declare a beginning to the Stop the Raids campaign, and we're going to announce actions that are being taken to do just that. Michael Comorn ferreted out the Michigan State Police crime lab scandal last fall. And
we're in debt.
The man in that case, Max Lorenz, is about to go back to court. He's had all charges dismissed against him, and now it's a matter of getting his child back. Because remember, Steve, they take our kids during this process as well. They come and take our children. And that's what they did to Max Lorenz. So he's getting ready to go to court and hopefully wrap up this ugly business with Child Protective Services, the CPS. And we've got to take action against the Michigan State Police, against those crime labs. We have very clear evidence. It's in emails. It's in their own writing that Ken Stecker from the Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan directed the crime lab staff, all of those scientists, to declare they could not determine the origin of concentrated cannabis. Only so that they could charge people with felonies. That was why.
No, I get that. I totally get it. But isn't it? Don't you think, in your mind? Don't you think? And I don't want to pick. I guess I'll ask attorneys separately. But don't you think, in your mind and in my mind, that it is indeed? I guess what's the word I'm looking for? It is improprietous. It's the height of impropriety. In fact, I would argue that you've got Ken Steckert, who is the county. What is his official title? He's the prosecutor.
He's the head of the Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan.
Exactly.
And Ken Steckert has been traveling the state, delivering presentations to little municipalities, to the Michigan Municipal League, to the Townships Association. He has been fear-mongering and just spreading lies about medical marijuana. Let me tell you something. In plenty of other states, they don't have resistance like we do. They don't have this organized actions to take away our rights and keep, enforcing the Controlled Substance Act on us. We are under attack here in Michigan. We really are. Last fall, the Center for Public Integrity issued that scorecard of integrity. They scored all the states on integrity, transparency, and ethics. We're 50th, Steve. 50th. You have to work very hard for all 3 branches of government. You have to work very hard to be 50th. It is intentional. You think Flint's an accident? These men have suspended democracy in Michigan. And I hope everyone comes down to the Capitol March 22nd at high noon to demand they reinstate democracy and they stop sending the soldiers into our homes and taking our kids.
Do we think ultimately this is going to have any effect? Do you think that these police are going to listen to this, given that
Oh, they are. They will. They will on March 22nd, because we're going to have hundreds of people there, and we're going to be making some very big announcements. I can't go any further into it.
Well,
but
we can't have the press release here, because the press release is then. The press conference is then. You're going to start this rally with a press conference?
Yes, we are. And I'll have a press release issued, several days in advance, so that they will have much more lined up by then.
So we're actually breaking this story then about this rally to be heard on March 22nd. So
yes, you are breaking the story. I just put the Facebook event page up. So the name of it, if you want to go and see,
I'll do it right now.
Limited. The name of it is Stop the Raids Press Conference Protest. This is the Stop the Raids campaign. Let me tell you something. On October 1st, 2014, Representative Tom McMillan asked me to come down to the Capitol and testify for this now defunct SWAT reporting bill. So I got there and I watched these legislators. I watched Michigan State Police Sergeant Amy Denner hand talking points to the legislators on the House House Criminal Justice Committee. And then I watched those legislators dutifully read them. We are in this state because the Michigan State Police, the Prosecuting Attorneys Association of Michigan, the Police Chiefs Association, and the County Sheriff's Association own the legislators in Lansing, with the exception of very few of those people. They do what they are told there. So Representative Clint Chesto, it's true, Representative Clint Chesto, right? Who's sponsored and managed many of the medical marijuana bills, actually said, I'm trying to understand your bill here. Are you trying to be nosy, or are you trying to stop the raids? Because you're not going to stop the raids. He said that, Steve. So he gave me the campaign. He gave me this campaign name because we are going to stop the raids. Let me tell you, I've had it. We've all had it. Do we need to talk about Barb Agro? 75-year-old widowed felon Barb Agro, who was part of the major sweep in 2010 August, Oakland County, as part of the strategy to just scoop up as many people as they could and start getting cases moved up through the court so they could strip away our rights.
Oh man,
so
Charmie, I got to tell you, we're running against the commercial break.
Okay, I'll just keep talking if you don't stop me.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Thank you so much for going on. I just posted the link. Go to the Facebook page for the Full Melt Show right now and check it out. I'll talk to you soon, Charmie.
You're getting the Full Melt.
Promotional consideration provided by NoSmell.com, pioneering the storage market for cannabis users. The No Smell patented bag technology offers users 100% smell-proof detection from even the most sophisticated of noses. NoSmell.com, so nobody knows. When placing your order for a No Smell bag, make sure to use discount code FULLMELT and take 10% off the entire order. Learn more about No Smell technology at NoSmell.com.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoi has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoi Law
at RudoiLaw.com.
RudoiLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoiLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Door Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. 571. It's the Full Melt Radio Show. Oh, man. A jam-packed show. There's never enough time to get everything in. I want to do these 2 things real quick and then try to call Bobby. Because remember, Bobby interrupted our call. We got Charmie on. And it looks like the app he's working on is still crashing. He's trying to work a bug out. I'm going to have to call Bobby and find out what's going on with that. First, I told you that we would be talking about a couple of things here. I just wanted to go over them real quick because I thought them newsworthy. The House in Utah has decided that the magic underwear state is no place for medical marijuana. That's right. Representative Brad Daw was discussing this bill. A bill that would have made Utah the 24th state to legalize medical marijuana died without a vote on the House floor Thursday. It was a quiet ending to a debate that has been one of the most contentious and time-consuming issues of the 2016 legislature. The sponsor of Bill SB 89, Senator Evan Vickers, a Republican from Cedar City, said lawmakers could not come to an agreement on the last-minute changes to the bill, most notably one that would have allowed doctors to prescribe higher amounts of THC. The whole idea that you could get a doctor to prescribe THC shows that you don't even know what you're doing. So that's the news there. You can check out the rest of the story at DesireeNews.com. There's much more detail in that story. But there's just not enough time in the program to go over all of it. And I don't think it's all necessary anyways. The headline there is no medical marijuana in Utah. They let it die. And then what was the other big story that I wanted to look over here? Lawmakers propose taxes, I thought this was interesting, but it wasn't the story that I was going to tell you about. Medical marijuana users steamed by ban after Ontario U-turn. This according to Metro News Canada. The headline here is that Ontario is now going to ban the use of vaping and other medicinal purpose toking in Ontario in places, public places, enclosed public places, workspaces, and most outdoor areas. And this is so strange because, they were already talking about legalizing marijuana as the Liberal Party platform, which just won there in Canada. So British Columbia, some flipping and some flopping, at least as it comes to Ontario's case. Now, for the Bobby. Let's see if we can get the Bobby on the line. Get an update on the mobile app. Usually I don't do updates on the mobile app. Because, we've been working on it for so long that sometimes an update just doesn't matter, right? I mean, we're working on this for 3 years now. And it's about to go into release. We're just doing some tweaking now, but we're having some problems with some playback issues, and so I'm hoping Bob will answer the phone.
Hello.
Hey, Bobby.
Hey.
Hey, I'm still on the air, but I decided to call you back because I got Charmie off the line.
Oh, yeah.
So, I wanted to check. So, were you trying to tell me to download the latest version and see what's going on?
That is exactly it.
Okay.
Because it works on my phone. Ha ha.
It works on your phone. You got it working on your phone now?
Yeah.
Well, that's a bonus.
Well, there's still one problem, but the streaming works. So.
Well, now I have not had a chance to check the Android phone. I wonder if I should call the Android phone. Let me see if I can. I'm going to add a call.
I've already checked my phone, though.
No, my Android phone.
Who cares about yours? Mine works. That's the most important part.
Okay. Well, what about the iOS version of the app?
That you should check too, for sure.
That you should check too. Well, I already had the option of doing that during the break before I called you, and I did install it. And let me just see. So I'm just going to open it up again. Hang on. I thought it was already okay. So I opened it up. Squiggle, 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 squiggle. We've got the splash screen. And I think it's crashing because it's not actually crashing here. I think the server's crashing because it stays on the splash screen.
That's the new version.
What?
That should be fixed in the new version.
Fixed in the new version?
Yeah, the one that just uploaded a new one. They should fix that.
Just now?
Well, no, it was like a half hour ago.
Well, this says an hour ago.
Yeah.
That's the version that I downloaded. Yeah, it says an hour.
It doesn't get past the main screen?
Nope. I've got it open right now. I opened it again. Now it goes big logo to small squiggle logo, and it just stays there squiggling.
Hold on. Okay, shut that down. Is that the iOS one?
Yes.
Shut that down.
Okay. So it's shut down.
No, hold on 1 second.
Testing the mobile app on the air because there's never a better place to test the mobile app, but on the air. Okay, I'm not going to sing anymore. Just filling time. We've only got about a minute left on the air, so we'll either reveal this or we won't on the air. We'll see. Now
open the phone up.
Open up the app. I'm opening the app. Squiggle, 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 squiggle. And
are you sure?
It's still squiggling.
What the heck, Steve?
Oh, it opened.
I booted it up for you.
You booted it for me. I can see because I can see your little screen in the corner of the screen.
Right. Let's see. So you should get this message.
Are you going to send a push notification?
No, just open it up in dialogue.
Hey there. I got the hey there.
So all right.
He said,
okay,
wait a minute. Let me just explain, people. Bobby is in the back of a van somewhere sending signals to my mobile app. It's just strange.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have to install a few pieces of software. One of them is in Korean, but I was assured on the forums that it's okay. So, hold on 1 second. All right, so anyway, go to the live stream page.
Going to live stream? Oh.
Yeah. There.
Hey, it is streaming.
Is it?
It's streaming, Bobby.
Hey, can you hear this weird conversation? Hold on, let me test. 1, 2, 3, testing.
The thing is that I'm listening to this through the same phone that I'm talking to you on. So it is streaming.
Hey. Well, it's much improved.
Yeah.
Test.
What if
can you hear this?
Testing.
Let me check mine. Mine doesn't.
That's cool. Oh, I'm so tickled pink that you got that part working. So now is that the video player? Is that what's going on there?
Test 1, 2.
Oh, you got it loud.
Wait, hold on 1 second. I gotta put you in speakerphone. Oh, there you go. What'd you say?
It's weird because now the phone's playing back our conversation. This is actually.
Oh yeah, mine is. So it's working on the iPhone too?
Yeah.
Don't you? Oh, it's not like doing the buffering one.
Well, it's obviously doing.
Hold on 1 second. I gotta put you in speakerphone with my phone. Oh, there you go.
Can you hear that?
Is that my phone? Yeah, I can hear that.
Yeah, I'm playing it back.
Mine's playing too. Oh, I see. Wait. Let me turn mine off so I can hear yours.
The iPhone 2? Is that what you...
There.
Hey!
It's not like doing the buffering one?
Yeah. Dude, that's so cool.
Well,
hang on. Robert, hang on. Coming from a rest area. Robert, hang on a second. We're about to hit the end of the show. It's cool as hell that this is playing in the background.
Wait. Let me turn mine off so I can hear yours.
We got it working. We did it live on the air. I love it. Hang on, Robert. Don't go anywhere because the show's ending, but I'm going to still keep you on the phone and still work on this because now I'm delighted. I'm absolutely like a pig in shit. I am so delighted. Got that thing working. Stay tuned. More to come on that mobile app. We hope to have that thing released by the time we do the Hash Bash coming up at the beginning of April, which is just a couple of short weeks away. We'll see you Monday on the show.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.